Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back this evening to the final entry in the Cwcism Stress Us section of the Quictionary, which concerns redirected from Tobacky, also referred to as Chris and Drugs. So, unless of course I've missed this article out somewhere else, I'll probably just include this here anyway as like Chris and Drugs, like brackets Tobacky, whatever it is. You would hardly feel as if that really should be a stressor because Chris avoids it, with the exception of alcohol. But let's get this started, shall we? The despicable mention of rude words and drugs from Song of Christian. A drug is any substance other than food that changes an organism's physiology or psychology when consumed. Much like shoving things up his ass, recreational drugs were something that Chris used to preach against, until he eventually tried alcohol and discovered he loved the somewhat pleasant effect. As of 2021, Chris has consumed caffeine, cannabis, and alcohol. He has yet to smoke a cigarette or try any hard drugs such as cocaine. Probably for the better, to be honest. Then again, Chris doesn't need cocaine, he's already out of his mind. Chris has also been on a litany of prescription and over-the-counter drugs to treat his various ailments. Prescription drugs, psych meds, and other drugs. Prescriptions for mental health. Main article, autism. Due to Chris's autism, he has had to take a variety of prescription drugs over the years. I kind of just want to make this point right now, is that I was diagnosed with autism when I was only 2 years of age, specifically like Asperger's syndrome. I have never once had to take a single prescription drug for it. And to be honest, I don't really know, because I know quite a lot of people who have autism, and as far as I can work out, they've never specifically said they've ever taken any drugs for it either. So that might just because of the severity of Chris's or how it might be, I'm not too sure. As of 2000, Chris has been taking the antidepressant Paxil for his autism, which increased from 20 milligrams to 30 milligrams after his psychiatric diagnosis. But sometime before December 2009, he stopped taking it. Not entirely sure if that was a good idea, and instead began taking paroxetine, citing Paxil's side effects. Interestingly enough, both have the same chemical composition, meaning both are the same drug with just different trade names. Okay. If word ever gets out that Chris felt paroxetine didn't have the same side effects as Paxil, know that this is just an example of the placebo effect. It is possible that Paxil/paroxetine side effects include making orgasm harder and increased potential for weight gain. Sometime afterwards, Barb found out about its side effects and switched to fluoxetine. It is likely she switched relatively recently, as she still mentioned paroxetine well into October 2017. In that same paper, it also mentioned his taking of impuramine for unknown reasons. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna see exactly what that is. I don't really know what that is, so impuramine, sold under the brand name Tofanial, or among others, is a tricycleric antidepressant (TCA), mainly used in the treatment of depression. It is also effective in treating anxiety and panic disorder. The drug is also used to treat bedwetting. That sounds like something that would be probably prescribed for Chris. So I don't. Maybe that's to cure, him evacuating in his, sleep or something like that. Prescriptions and other ailments. For the majority of his life, Chris has had cholesterol problems. To combat this, instead of eating like a normal human being and getting exercise, he eats poorly and rarely exercise while taking Lipitor, a cholesterol-lowering drug. While Lipitor and similar drugs can have a positive effect in lowering the cholesterol levels of those taking it, if one doesn't change their lifestyle, as well as there will be little change in the cholesterol level. This is very, very common knowledge. to anyone who knows anything at all about the drug, or, exercising in general. Chris has been taking Lipitor since at least August 2009, has had some improvement with his cholesterol levels, getting a score of 140 milligrams per milliliter. While not low, it is not high either. Since Chris is very unfit, it's likely that Lipitor seems to be doing a decent job. I hope it has, but then again, how much further that can go on for, and especially for someone. Didn't Chris say that at least when he was 27 he was taking it because it was like, well, how did it go again? That it's like usually reserved for people who are like, their mid 60s and to like early 70s who could have cholesterol related difficulties. Chris also takes a drug to combat blood pressure, like a blood thinner concerning his high-fat, high diet in June of 2019. Chris suffered a heart attack and was placed in the hospital. He took Tylenol, aspirin, and several other unknown drugs. My dad had to take quite a number when he had a heart attack himself back in 2009, and he's been on a lot of these drugs ever since. That's because it affects you in more ways than one. Most likely blood thinners and cholesterol lowering drugs. As with most people after heart attacks, Chris will likely take similar drugs for the rest of his life. It is known that Chris also takes antibiotics for his urinary tract infections. HRT. Ever since May 2015, Chris has been taking HRT one way or another to successfully transition. Estrogel. Normally, transgender people plan out their gender transitions with doctors to ensure safety throughout the process, especially if they are taking hormones. Unfortunately, Chris has done the opposite. In 2015, he acquired Estrogel, a hormone replacement therapy cream meant for post-menopausal women. It is meant to be prescription only. But Chris got around the requirement to see a doctor by ordering it through offshore pharmacy. Is that even legal to do, though? I'm not entirely sure if that's even legal to technically do. Estrogel has health risks, yeah, you see, exactly, such as fluid retention, weight changes, rise in blood pressure, disastrous for an obese person like Chris, who's also been on Lipitor for the best part of 15 to nearly 20 years, and blood clots. And that is when it is applied properly via a small dosage of the arm once per day. He even managed to fail at following the directions on the package, as shown in Estrogel application and vibrating bra how-to, in which he slathers the cream onto his stomach like buttering bread. You can even see by Chris's depiction here that he himself looks very, very unsure about all this. I mean, especially in this still here, like he knows fine well he's not making himself look clever. Kim Wilson revealed that he was taking the hormones in May 2015, and Chris mentioned the drug again as late as August 2016. Throughout 15 to 16, he repeatedly complained via Facebook posts of feeling dizzy and ill, but has failed to connect the dots and see that taking overdosages of a black market drug without a physician's approval could be a significant reason for it. Proper HRT. At some point in fall 2016, he finally went to a medical professional and was prescribed proper HRT. In his interview with Copper Cab, Chris mentions he takes the T blocker spirolactone, which he nicknames Spyro the Dragon, and estradiol to assist in his transitioning. Alcohol. Background. Chris describes alcohol as a slow-acting poison. In his future message video, he also touches on the subject during VivTag's AIM chat, where in his line 309 he mentions that he would not go to a singles bar because of it and cigarettes. When asked about it in Mumble Chat number 2, he stated that it causes liver dysfunction and likely bar fights and automobile accidents. Then again, the automobile accidents is something that Chris could cause with or without alcohol. If his, list of, offences and misdemeanors or anything to go by. Chris delivered a particularly effusive tirade in one of his emails to Reggie Fils Ami. Also, I bet you probably smoke and drink, don't you? I speak against those as well, as since they are tools to speed you to death with cancer, liver problems, bar fights, and automobile accidents. Give up the habits, they are beyond gross and disgusting. The irony is nothing short of perplexing, given what we know about Chris. And here he is anyway, starting to have a drink. Discovery and use. Despite this, a hypocritical video of Chris drinking a Long Island iced tea was uploaded to YouTube on the 12th of June 2009, perhaps showing us Chris will be willing to throw all of his principles out the window when chances of being around a female arise, or whether or not he just straight up decides to try it. Alcohol was mentioned briefly in a video shortly after titled, "I'm sorry dude." In this video, Chris makes an offer to treat Logan to drinks, as opposed to his past offers of coffee or soda, to those whom he wanted to get to know. Alcohol was briefly revisited again on camera in Chris's Big Night Out 2, where Chris was seen drinking. Chris's first recorded video where he appeared visibly intoxicated was "Bless the fans, curse the trolls." Alcohol began a slow and steady progression into Chris's life. Yeah, you want to know something very interesting just before we continue? How many days are we into 2019? I think we're something like about 94 days, I believe, into the year 2019. I have had, at the most, 2 cans of alcohol to drink this year, and that is it. 2 cans in as much as 94 days. That's because I went 50 whole days in the beginning without needing a drink. And to be honest, it's just, I kind of just learned to stop having it, so the need just kind of gradually left my system, because I don't want to, start, getting addicted to it. I don't want to become an alcoholic, because it's just part about changing my lifestyle for the better. This was made a bit obvious in an email to Regina, where he said, "I've also tasted Mike's Hard Lemonade, Budweiser, Miller, Michelob, Samuel Adams, and a couple of others, and I look forward to sampling more varieties of liquor." Budweiser is apparently his brand of choice, based on eyewitness reports from Fridays After 5, and his account of a trip to a bar prior to visiting the game place on the 6th of June 2010. Meanwhile, a video from mid-October 2010 showed Chris slugging Kahlua straight from the bottle, although he didn't seem to enjoy it too much. When a correspondent in mailbag number 6 challenged him regarding his shift in attitude, Chris replied, "I discourage underage drinking fully. I wanted to try it for once for myself." In mailbag 16 from December 2009, he described his drinking habits in more detail. "I am more of a social drinker. I generally do not spend a weekly amount on drinks. I only drink at a party or with a friend on rare occasions." This remark was met with some skepticism from trolls, since Chris has no friends, much less anyone who invite him to parties. Same. Although I did get invited to 1 or 2 parties here and there, I suppose. Even after discarding his original hardline attitude, though, Chris still found opportunities to get a little preachy regarding the demon liquor. In mailbag 33 from early January 2010, he remarked, "And alcohol in responsible, moderate amounts, it can be good for you. Yet I do not support too much of it, as I left unchecked, unresponsible, or unassisted. Too much can lead to fights that can lead to a trip to the hospital and automobile accidents." He also, in mailbag number 5, advanced the bizarre theory that drinking while pregnant can provoke homosexuality in the child. Oh, that's just fucking stupid as hell. Boo, Chris, boo. In June 6, 2010, Chris revealed that he had been drinking at a bar before driving to the game place, and getting into a confrontation with a manager, probably for drinking while drunk. Alcohol may be contributing to Chris's declining health, since his decision to leave the internet and instead seek real-life interaction. Chris has revealed to us that he spent most of his day sitting in bars and playing on his Nintendo DSi. While he once claimed to be a social drinker, it is becoming quite obvious that he is anything but. Christian's childlike perception of the world is most likely deafening his awareness to the substances advancements of relevancy in his life. At this point, he may be turning to alcohol for escapism. I went over to a bar and I had a bottle of Bud, and then I played some solitaire on my DS while I waited to the hour. In addition, Chris, being the slow in the mind that he is, alleged to add raw sugar to his beer on a regular basis. Not only is this completely unnecessary, but may lead to further problems in the near future. Diabetes, blood clots, you name it. It is obvious that while Chris's current loneliness and depression, his alcohol use may yield repercussions in his life. And it did. In July 2016, Chris, while thought to have been drunk and depressed over lack of progress of his gender transition, sliced open his taint with a knife to simulate the opening of a vagina, nearly resulting in him killing himself. Please bear that in mind. Alcohol made another appearance in the Cherokee and Chant performance, in which Chris states he had 5 swigs of vodka. The Teen Truant Squad, aged 18 to 19, tried to get Chris to buy them Reeb in 2018. In 2021, enabler Cwcism revealed that Chris has told him in messages that he would drink heavily once every few weeks. Even with known accounts of Chris's past alcohol use, this news was surprising and very concerning. I'm not kidding. Chris is 39 years old as of the time of recording this. You really think that sooner or later his past is going to catch up with him regarding his substance abuse? Chandler family and alcohol. It is interesting to note that Cole Smithy mentions that Bob and Barbara Chandler met at a bar and acted like a couple of drunken losers. Chris's family line has a history with alcohol. Chris's maternal great-grandfather, Robert Pettis Wynn, drank heavily and had a girlfriend during the time he was married. Family stories say he failed to provide even the most basic support for his wife and children. There are others who say he was a moonshiner. Wasn't Robert... No, hang on. Was it Robert Wynn who was said to have married a girl of 15, or was that his grandfather? It's at this point where you realize they're not just concerned with, Chris himself. They're concerned about just about every member of his family as well. Chris basically put them on the map. In the comic, in Sonichu, Chris refers to beer in all instances as Reeb, which is just beer spelled backwards. He probably thinks that this is very, very clever. At first glance, this seems odd, until you realize Chris still thinks Sonichu is targeted towards children, despite the graphic sex scene in issue 8, and frequent depictions of violent death, and so he feels he must censor any mention of alcohol in the comic. This is a common theme in English-translated anime such as Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, particularly those aimed at a younger audience. Possessing or drinking alcohol was one of the worst crimes to commit in Quickville, and could lead to a fine of $1,500, or 10 years in prison. The fact that Chris thinks that 10 years in prison and a $1,500 fine are interchangeable is indicative of his borderline attitude towards money. It is also interesting to note that this punishment is much more lenient than the Quickville penalty for homosexuality, and you thought Chris was intolerant. He is, but there you go. Chris later said in his Rolling and Trolling video that the prohibition has since been repealed. Reeb is the drink of choice towards drunkards working for 4centgarbage.com. It should also be noted that there really is a drink called Reeb. It's a Chinese beer produced in Shanghai, though it's doubtful that Chris knew about it. And here we are, tobacco. Really kind of like what we were kind of after for the first place. No, but there you go. And smoking will eventually cause cancer, and you'll be more likely to get heart attacks, viruses, and your life will be cut drastically short. They don't call cigarettes and cigars death sticks for nothing. Other than killing you slowly, if I could, I would take every last ounce of tobacco put him on a rocket, and shoot him up to the moon. No smoking and want woman, two of Chris's war cries. This poor dude just here is just kind of like wondering, what the fuck? And this poor woman, what's he even putting his like leg up onto? That's, or what this woman is going like is whatever. Chris really went out in public like this, really. Tobacco, called Tobacky by Chris, is a recreational drug derived from nicotina plants. If Chris could, he would send every last ounce of Tobacky on a rocket to the moon. One of the prerequisites for a sweetheart that Chris has never veered from is that she be smoke-free. Chris has given his flip-flopping regarding his hatred towards alcohol. It is uncertain whether Chris has ever smoked, though he did pretend to smoke a peace pipe for Jackie. Authentic quick ashtray, perfected for launching at the moon. Chris on Tobacky. In his famous future message of 24th February 2007, his 25th birthday, Chris expressed his wish for all Tobacky to be shot to the moon. In an ED edit from the 10th of November 2007, regarding a comment about Christian Weston Chandler's future message, Chris said he was uncomfortable about saying the word tobacco. Chris's Tobacky rocket plan was elaborated on in January of 2009. I have given thought of sending the tobacco to the sun, but then the smell from all that would likely emit from the giant star and stink up our galaxy, possibly shortening the lifespan of not only our world but of 8 other planets as well. This is despite the fact that basically the smoke would just sort of like emanate in a giant cloud, because really there's no atmosphere and there's like, with no wind or anything, gravity is going to be the one forcing all of that substance somewhere. So it would stink up perhaps at least one planet. But then again, with I don't think Chris is really thought that one through. Then again, probably neither have I. Chris has also related a dream he once had regarding the risks possessed by tobacco consumption. I was in a factory and I watched people lying on a conveyor belt with their mouths full of cigarettes, going through burning ovens, coming out signed, not on fire. Then dunked into a huge tank of alcohol that dissolved them to dust, like acid would do, and their remains came out of the factory's smokestacks in puffs of smokes and ashes. And another detail, the front of the factory is skull-shaped. Chris's cigarette nightmare. That he might have probably got this from. Oh, yeah, that's probably it. Chris has stated that tobacco and alcohol importation is the most severe crime in Quickville and warrants 10 years imprisonment or $1,500 fine. In short, importing cigarettes in Quickville is worse than rape, theft, or murder, or even being a homosexual. Somebody might want to have to like reevaluate these laws because they don't really make much sense. Cannabis. Chris seemed to have an even stronger hatred for cannabis, marijuana, pot, weed, etc. Despite it being hailed as a possible autism treatment, I've never really heard about that, but whatever. This is evidenced by the fact that in Quickville, cigarette smokers are only given a $1,500 fine, but those who simply possesses weed are taken to a maximum security prison, the same place Quickville detains terrorist leaders, as was the fate of Kathleen in the Book 10 replacement. Interestingly, the Jamaican war veteran Enos from the original Sonichu issue 10 somehow managed to escape this sentence, instead being forced into a soup hotel by Ultra Sonichu. Dialogue indicates it was because Sonichu believed he was actually smoking tobacco, despite him being high as a kite. Unintentionally revealing that Chris may believe tobacco and cannabis to be interchangeable. The fact that Wacky Tobacky was used as a name for cannabis back in the 1940s and 50s further adds weight to this theory. In true Chris hypocritical fashion, it was revealed to Kim on Facebook that in July 2016, Chris had tried smoking cannabis at OmegaCon, and he was offered it at Impulse as well. Chris confirmed that he did try weed a couple of times in a Twitter comment. Thanks, not totally my thing, that kind of high, the couple of times aside. Under the influence of the idea, guys, Chris changed Sonichu's official birthday to the 20th of April, or 420, often celebrated as a stoner holiday. However, given the idea guy's apparent obsession with Nazis, actually that's only 2 weeks away, isn't it? The 420. And other offensive topics, this could also be a reference to the birthday of Adolf Hitler, or the date of the 1999 Columbine High School massacre. In 2018, Chris smoked pot with the Teen Troon squad hanging out at their place to partake. Caffeine. Being an avid Coca-Cola drinker, Chris is no stranger to caffeine consumption, though he curiously denied using caffeine in the autism papers. His heavy soda consumption is likely to blame for his distorted sleep patterns. Chris burned down his house while trying to make coffee at 2:30 in the morning. What the hell is Chris doing, drinking and staying up 2 in the morning? That's gonna... his heart rate is gonna burst through the roof if he does that. So, I guess you could say, ladies and gentlemen, with all that being said and done, that really is the very end. And the only reason I kind of wanted to do the Chris and drugs bit again is because it's very interesting when all is said and done that the things that he feels like are going to relieve him of the pressure have basically screwed up his mind as well as his body, because he is left in a perpetual state of confusion about the things that, you know, he can't control himself. Not just his autism, he cannot control himself. Which is kind of sad in a way, because it means that perhaps he might not get any sort of relief from anything he takes, but it's only a matter of time, especially if the idea that he drinks heavily once every couple of weeks means that it probably won't be long before he does one step too many. And who knows, ladies and gentlemen, who knows. But with all that being said and done, I think it's safe to say we should draw a veil on this entries of the Cwictionary, and I will host all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, but bye for now.